listeners, this is Chris, the co-host of Mythtakes Happen, and this mini-episode is called Monumental Mythtakes. We'll get to it shortly. Look, I know we usually do silly intros with goblins and elves, but I do need to start this one a little bit differently, and I am sorry to begin the episode so seriously, but there are some topics that are too important to ignore. I don't want to get too political here or court controversy, but I just watched a Minecraft movie and it's pretty good. Guys, it's got all the different blocks. Dirt, yes. Cobblestone, yes. Other types of rock, also. Trees that are square, absolutely. It's got pigmen. Steve is Jack Black, who I no longer hold any respect for, but he is pretty funny. Jason Momoa is still somehow very sexy, even as he's attempting to kind of portray a loser. Zombies, yes. Endermen, yes. What a good movie. Does anyone think it could have come out like 5 or 6 years ago? Like it could have been maybe more culturally relevant? I don't know. Anyway, capitalism will destroy our world, seize the means of production, destroy the oligarchy, and watch the Minecraft movie. Yo ho ho is the only ethical way of consuming it. Enjoy the episode. Bye. So the thing is that I think that fundamentally I live in a solipsistic universe and that I am the only real person. That's something that I believe, and I tried sharing this with my wife and she was very upset by that notion. So then I played it off a little bit like it's a joke because it sounds a little bit like a joke, and then she was okay. But I actually do to some degree believe it until I'm drunk. Well, and then when I'm drunk, I think the opposite. I think actually that every human being is unique, a unique individual with their own soul. Yeah.
Do you think maybe it's simply a subconscious decision to protect yourself, as if no one can really hurt you if they're not, really real?
I did not pay for this therapy and I resent it. Good. Hey, do you want to hear an interesting fact?
I'd be delighted to hear an interesting fact.
Okay, so something that I'm very interested in is the population decline of Japan. I don't know if you know this, but Japan's population maxed out at 128 million in around 2007, 2008.
Right.
So that's a lot. That's a lot of people. By now, it's around the 124 million mark, which means that there was a decline of 4 million people during that time. Now, what I find really interesting about that is that 4 million people is like a lot of people. 4 times as many people as live in, I don't know, Iceland or whatever, right? Like, that's just so many people.
It really is.
It makes me very sad. And then there's a marked difference of what Japan feels like, what it felt like even like a decade ago to what it feels like now. Like there are so many more, it feels like there are so many more older people around. I don't know if that's an illusion.
My understanding is it's an issue they've known about for a long time and they've been taking steps at governmental levels to try and change the culture to the point where it stops.
Oh no, they can't. It will never happen because it turns out that Japanese women don't want to get married and Japanese men don't want to get married to Japanese women. This is highly controversial, but the reason for this is, bam! Welcome to Monumental Mythtakes.
Like that intro.
Yeah, what do you think?
I think it was great.
I think it was fantastic. Okay, we did it. What are we doing in Monumental Mythtakes? It is one of our small Mythtakes, which is a mini bonus episode where we are doing something different. This one is a new format that you thought up using your brain.
Well, not just my own brain. Again, this was in discussion with a mate of ours, Leo. So the concept is...
Did you say Lilio?
No, I do sometimes call him Leonidas.
It sounded like Lilio. And I really like that, actually.
Lilio.
Can we call him Lilio from now on?
No, I'm just going to call him Leo. But you can call him Lilio.
I'm going to call him Lilio. He's going to love that.
He's unlikely to become violent with you, but he'll certainly give you a look.
He won't. He's not going to do it. He knows when an alpha is in the room. Because it's usually him. God damn it.
I was thinking it very loudly. So,
all right, cool.
What we're actually doing with this episode is we're going to come up with a name for a historical individual in our setting of Holoicon and something that they have left behind, their monument. It doesn't necessarily have to be a monument, but that's the idea, hence Monumental Mythtakes. And once we've done name and thing, the other individual is then going to riff on it as we so often do in our mini episodes.
That's really brilliant and I love it and I think it's a good idea. I don't know whether I went too overly specific with the name name and the thing that this individual left behind. So
Right.
if that is the case, then I can change it for future episodes.
Yeah.
Let's see how it goes.
Absolutely.
Who's going first?
Would you like to go first?
I would like to go first only because I want to know whether I have made some kind of monumental myth-take. Okay, the person that you're going to be talking about is the thrice blessed head taker of the unified concordate dominions.
Right.
The thing that this individual left behind are the skulls of his 3 children, Ara, Gara, and Vara.
The unified concordate dominions. Okay, so my first thought is that this is a period during the concordate, which is a long, multi-millennia spanning, or at least a millennia spanning era. And during this period, one of the rulers of the concordate, no, not rulers, so there's a problem with succession, and you end up with a warlord era, as you so often do in the history of France, the history of China, the history of Japan. Let's face it, it's probably only a certain amount of time before it happens in the United States.
That's going to be fun because they have so many guns.
They do. And the 3 greatest of these warlords were great generals in their army, Ara, Gara, and Vara. Their father, the thrice-blessed head taker of the Unified Concordate, who is apparently unnamed, but I like the idea his name is lost to history.
Like so many things.
Was called back into service by one of the heirs. He earns his loyalty, and the thrice-blessed head taker then goes to war with his 3 children, and slowly, one by one, he takes each one, and as was the custom at the time, he takes their heads.
Do you think the concordate was definitely a very militant empire, right?
I would say if we're looking at a millennia at least long empire, then it has gone through evolutions. And this was certainly a particularly militant one, and that the culmination of this, when he's the instrument that welds together the concordate once again, it does have this period where it's known as the Unified Concordate Dominions, which is simply a period in what the modern day individuals now just call the concordate.
Brilliant. Now, the skulls of Aragara and Vara, they've been left behind. Where are they? Where can we access these skulls?
I think that because they were symbols of the unification, of putting down those who would stand against the new head of the concordate, they were plated in, we came up with in an earlier episode, spit steel.
Spit steel.
Yes, it's got a cool name, but I can't remember what it is because spit steel is the colloquial name, and it's certainly the most evocative one. Each one was coated in spit steel for posterity, and those 3 skulls are sort of symbols of rulership in the concordate. Now, one of those skulls, the skull of Vara, is held on the island of Lumara in a shrine, and is considered, the fact that the current conarchs of the Great Consociate hold control over that is part of their refounding of the concordate myth that they've got going on.
So that's like part of their mandate.
Yes, and they are constantly searching for the other 2, as is the Unfettered League, because if they can simply denying them to the Great Consociate is a blow to their cultural power. But currently the skulls of Ara and Gara are not well known where they are. Okay. I would suggest that one of them is known to in Old Halidia. Yes, I mentioned that there was a noble family that's actually the heirs to the last throne. They know where the skull of Ara is, but the skull of Gara is unknown to anybody.
Brilliant. Yeah. Brilliant. It's probably in a very unlikely place. Like, if this was a story, it would be such a far away and unlikely place that neither of the great powers would even think to look there.
Yeah, so between the TV and the wall.
That's where it is. Yeah, that's where I keep my skulls.
Not
my actual skull, but
obviously
the collection of skulls I have. Yeah. Do you think it's weird to have a human skull as a thing in your home? My mother had a skull. When she was studying at university. Her friend, I think, from one of the archaeological departments gave it to her, so there's probably iffy where that skull came from. But she always said that it was super cool, and she put a candle on it.
Well, that is the traditional thing to do with your human skulls in your study. I'll be honest with you, dead remains should be treated with respect, but I also don't find it particularly how you treat them should be how you want yours to be treated. treated. It's all about being human. But on the other hand, I don't think there's anything especially sacred about them either.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I would like something funny to happen to my skull.
Right. Well, I mean, perhaps
Not
you
to
could
happen
put a
to it, I
provision
guess.
into your will then.
Oh, yeah. I am working on a will, but it's extremely complex because I have I told you about this?
No.
I have some very specific requirements that I'm trying to negotiate.
Uh-huh.
I need one part of my body, it doesn't matter how small, to be buried in Poland.
Right.
And that presents a difficulty because when you die, it's actually illegal to like chop off a finger.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just you just can't do it. So I'm trying to.
Could you be like cremated and have sections of your cremain?
I can't be cremated.
Oh,
I don't want to be cremated.
Oh, right.
It's the only superstition that I hold to. I don't want I want my bones to be there. I want my bones to become part of the earth. Right. I don't want my dust to become part of the earth. I want them to turn to dust naturally.
That's absolutely a reasonable and logical choice. I'm perfectly fine with cremains in a Pringle can somewhere in someone's backyard or something.
Yeah, I'll cremate you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, no worries. It's up to me as your podcast partner. I will
decide upon that.
I will do right by you.
I appreciate that.
I'll incinerate your body as soon, or maybe even a little bit before you stop breathing.
How deeply comforting. Thank you.
Like if you become really gross, like if you start getting like a bad dementia and then like your dementia causes like weird racism, I'll do it, man.
Honestly, at that point, I'd thank you were I not, weirdly demented.
I forgot that we're doing an episode, so can you give me your...
Well, you've been really showing me up on the previous mini episodes. You've had me roll because you've had these tables and the bits and pieces. So I thought I better up my game. So I've got something for you.
Are you going to make me roll?
No, I would like you to pick a letter from the alphabet.
Oh, Jesus, really?
Yeah.
A letter from the alphabet. Yes. I will choose P because that's a funny letter.
Did you say S? S is a good letter.
No, P.
Yeah, I heard S though.
No, I'm pretty sure it's P.
You don't want to change it to S?
What about Q?
I'll be honest with you, I only have one for S. I kind of hoped you'd pick S.
Okay, can I change my answer?
Yes, please.
Is S okay?
S would be great. S is a fantastic choice.
Oh, great. I like that. Thank you.
Good.
I made the right choice.
You did. I would like you to talk about the individual known as Sil Solus Sorensen, and I would like you to talk about his Steely of Tomorrow's Sorrows.
Can you put that in the chat, please?
I can indeed, and have.
I'm looking up what a Steely is.
Oh, that's a fair point.
Oh,
yeah, you probably know what they are. You've just needed them.
I've seen these, yeah. Well, hold on. Now, it's either a botanical term.
Oh, no, I am very much referring to
an archaeological term.
Archaeological.
Okay. This is actually...
did you say a biological term? No, I'm
botanical.
Curious.
The central core of the stem and root of a vascular plant consisting of the vascular tissue, xylem and phloem, and associated supporting tissue. Yours was, speaking of monumental mistakes, is an actual monument.
Yes.
Oh, that's smart. I should have gone with that too.
No, yours is brilliant. I had a lot of fun with the three skulls.
Sil Solus Sorensen's Steely of Tomorrow's Sorrows.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. I would imagine that Sil Solus Sorensen was actually quite a famed poet and playwright of the Unfettered League.
Right.
And he died shortly before the end of the war between our two great powers over Haliacon. I imagine this war lasted quite a long time, maybe quite a few years. So Sil Solus Sorensen was actually anti-war.
Right.
He was a pacifist, and many of his plays, which were quite famous, had characters who, through either inaction or their cleverness, managed to save the day, which differentiated his plays from other plays of that era because those tended to be very focused on, great heroes and their deeds and stuff like
Martial
that.
victories, that sort of thing.
That's right. His heroes won because of their character and their convictions. One of his less popular plays right at the start of the war was an explicitly anti-war play, which led to his financial and social ruin. It was something that was at the time, because the war was seen as quite a righteous thing for the unfettered league to engage in. His play was such a savage put down of the leaders, the Grand Council, and all the people involved in the decision making. He basically, in a lovely poetic way, called them warmongers and fools who are plunging the world into yet another meat grinder. And the play was called Tomorrow's Sorrows. The stele of Tomorrow's Sorrows is a small monument that he had commissioned before his eventual and unfortunate suicide, which has the main paragraph of the end monologue by his hero in that play, which basically states, using some very clever metaphors, that he disparages the rulers of the League. He says that essentially any soldier who would go out in a conflict like this is no better than a murderer, and things like that. He committed suicide because it was a very, very unpopular stance at the time, but his stele survived, and it survived until after the Bloody Avenues Agreement, and public opinion had sort of changed, was changing towards the end.
I was going to suggest that perhaps
it had softened.
Well, not like that, but if Silas Sorensen might have been one of the original Luminarchist thinkers, so like one of the philosophers behind what the Unfettered League would be born out of, and then after towards the end of the war, the idea that there's a definite softening towards him, and that perhaps he's lauded now in the
definitely he's sort of seen as a bit of a tragic figure whose ideas and ideals of peace and solving things through other means than war was something that we should all look to. And also I think he's a tiefling.
I love it. All right, brilliant. We've sort of got our sort of combination Shakespeare and Bob Dylan of our universe.
I think that worked, actually. I really like that one. That one really inspired me almost straight away.
Honestly, I really love. We've really fleshed out some cool historical bits. This is
we have. That's so awesome.
I want to do this one again, and with your other idea.
The past
mythtakes. Past
mythtakes. So to the listeners, I had this thought that monumental mythtakes doesn't quite fit here, because I was thinking specifically of the fact that all these figures that we're talking about in this one are from the past. But actually, Aaron made the good point that we're talking about, their monuments, the things that they left behind. So that kind of works. What would past mythtakes look like? Do you think that would be more? Well, it could be a lot of things, actually, couldn't it? It could be a situation. It wouldn't have to be a person.
Or something from history. You can then talk about, historical assassinations or assassinations, the reign of a particularly difficult individual, famous battles and so forth.
Great idea. We should do it. That should be the next one we try, maybe.
Right. Yeah, next time we're going to do past mythtakes then.
We'll do past mythtakes.
Right.
Although the rate that these are released at, it might be sort of out of order.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Anyway, let's thank our listeners.
And make sure to keep checking for more episodes. Check the stuff below for links to our Patreon and PDFs and so forth.
Yep, guys, thank you for listening. If you've stuck with us, we try to do 2 episodes every month, 1 mini episode and 1 main episode. We are currently more than halfway through our main series of Haliacon, talking about a fantasy city that has been partitioned by 2 great powers. And if you don't know that, then this must have been a very confusing episode for you.
Deeply confusing.
Yes.
Probably go back to the start.
Yeah, go back to number 1.
The first all the way to the start is our pilot episode is totally different. So enjoy that too. But then come in at number one.
Yeah, it's actually really easy. Everything is contextualized by reading the description. I'm gonna take us out, if that's okay, with another interesting fact about Japan.
Oh, right. This more.
Did you know? Yeah, did you know that authentic Japanese cuisine actually is under the UNESCO? Is it UNESCO or UNESCO? Either way, it's classified as a cultural heritage, an intangible cultural heritage thing. Mm-hmm. So the washoku. So washoku is authentic Japanese cuisine, which takes into account things such as the aesthetics of the meal that you're eating, seasonal ingredients, things like that. It is considered to be a very specifically Japanese thing.
How is that different from anybody else's national cuisines?
They don't have the UNESCO cultural heritage rating.
I see.
No, that's it. That's the only difference. Wow. But also it's better because it's Japanese. These guys, they invented anime, and I haven't looked very deeply into their history, and I'm just saying, okay, they're a peace-loving people that have never done anything wrong. Anyway.
Korea.
Hi there, it's me, Rob. I wasn't in this episode, but I might be in the next one.